Hello, mate.
Hey, brother.
welcome back, guys, to Raw Talk Podcast. We've got a very special guest on today, Mr. Big Cal Dunk. My man, it's great to catch up with you again.
Yeah.
Just hit a big training session.
We did indeed. Thank you for having me on, brother. It's good to be here. Good to see you. Welcome back to Dubai.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that a hell of a lot. So, mate, I always kick off with this. This is one question I always kick off with right at the start of the podcast. Who's Callum?
Who's Callum? That's a nice, big, deep question to start. Callum's a guy who, well, first of all, I'll talk in relating with coaching.
Sure, man.
Someone who fell into coaching through a love of helping people, I guess, was the natural way coaching came about to me. He wasn't the most academic guy at school, let's say. Expelled from school, dyslexia, all that sort of thing. But always was a people's person, always loved to help. And then when I found fitness and how it made me feel, that was something I knew I was passionate about. And Callum's the sort of person, when I'm passionate about something, I'm passionate about that thing. If it makes me feel good, I'm going to keep doing what makes me feel good.
Love that.
And then if I can share that with others, I will do. Yeah, there's lots of different sides to who's Callum.
Yeah.
There's the father, there's the coaching Callum, there's the traveler, there is the, the friend, the family. It's a big, broad question, but
Yeah.
if I had to say, who is Callum? I'd say a happy, healthy 30-year-old man who's very grateful to be a dad, doing what he loves, and making an impact currently.
Love that, man. That's awesome. That is awesome. And I know obviously we've connected like a couple of times, on the last trip and on this one and stuff like that as well. But mate, I can resonate with so much of, whether we be training or in the back of the cab just now or, here, like with so much of what you're saying. It's funny, isn't it? Because what I've found, just to kind of go into something that you mentioned there, so many like successful coaches that are building something really special, that are kind of doing big things, didn't necessarily either fit in school or were necessarily hugely academic. They and what I often find for some of the business owners that are just performing the best is that they're massively people, right? I was speaking to Simon Johnson yesterday, actually, at the golf club, and he was telling me about a book called Surrounded by Idiots. Have you ever read it?
No, I've heard about it though.
Yeah. So I've not read it myself, but he was breaking down like what a red person is, what a yellow person is, what a blue person is, all these things. And I'm not sure what color we'd both be, but I feel like we'd both be the same color.
Must be a good color. I'll take that.
Great color. Yeah, I love that color. But in the sense of like, I know the way that you run your business is very, very, very like people centered. You love talking to people. You love connecting to people. Like I know that, even just now you were saying that if you are talking to either a client or someone who's even thinking about it, you're going to be talking to these guys a hell of a lot. And I love that about the way that you run things, man. So where would you say that kind of initial spark to help people came from?
I think the initial spark came from, when it came to helping people, was just feeling like I could help.
Yeah.
And then when it came to a coaching sense, it was actually quite a funny random story how I got into it. I used to train at the gym group in my hometown, Eastbourne, and because I'd be there quite a lot, I got good friends with the manager, Niall.
Yeah.
One day it was like, I could see him all stressed, and I was like, "Niall, what's up, man? You're looking stressed." He's like, "My PTs just can't seem to get any clients." And I was like, "If I was one of your PTs, I'll get clients straight away." And he was like, "Oh, I'd actually really like that." And then as a sort of self-challenge to myself, I went onto the gym floor, started chatting to these two ladies, and was like, "Oh, can I help you with this? Can I help you with that?" They were like, "Would love you to be our PT. Can we sign up with you?" So I ran back to Niall and I was like, "I've got 2 clients, but I'm not actually a PT yet." And he's like, "Well, I need to get you your PT qualification then." And then that's how it sort of started. But when it came to the thing of helping people, I don't know. I think it's always been in my nature to try and help if I can help.
Yeah.
If I can't, that's fine. But if I can, and I can see something where I've got wisdom on or some knowledge or have some input, I'll try and help as much as I can.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's interesting that you mentioned that, actually, because I feel like, some of the best coaches I've ever met that have the biggest impact, almost in a sense, didn't necessarily fall into coaching, but it almost came to them and it was just so natural. Like you mentioned there, the same thing with me with the business coaching side of things. Like I didn't set out and say, right, at 27 years old, I'm going to begin to help people with their business, and by X age, I'm going to be at this particular point. I was just helping people, and because I realized I could help people to help people, I'm like, oh wow, my impact's even bigger now. This is awesome. People are asking me questions about marketing. I never thought anyone would ask me about marketing. I thought that I had didn't have any marketing skills, because we were saying earlier that we're far more people minded than we are business minded and analytics and numbers and all this kind of stuff. And I think you mentioned earlier as well with your dyslexia. So a lot of people don't know this. Like, I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 6 years old, and I was like excluded and like made to go out of the classroom and constantly in detention,
Literally me, yeah.
constantly in trouble. Yeah, just 24/7, 24/7. And because of that, I never really like fit in, so to speak. So like even now, you know, like if I like last night we went out for a meal at the at Heston Blumenthal restaurant. And it's incredible. The whole thing is like an experience. They'll like come over and like do all these different things and stuff. And like, I mean, I turned 30 this year, but I could feel myself getting like hyperactive, like really hyper, just getting in like a weird mood and like a bit of a weird flow. And I recognize, because we were talking about content earlier, that when I do that and when I can just be myself, both in the coaching and on consults and in content and like having chats here and stuff like that, that's when I grow a business that I'm truly, truly, truly in love with. And that's when nothing else really matters, because you're like, I'm for once not worried about who's going to tell me off, or if they think that my work is good enough, or if they think my handwriting's correct, or, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like,
I think, well, authenticity
yeah,
is the most felt energy frequency.
yeah,
Like, they've done tests on it where someone is like authentic and it's truly them talking from a place that's wholeheartedly them.
yeah.
People will feel that and resonate with that. And I think it's like a great magnet for the right people to bring into your life and the other people that aren't meant for you. So to fall into, like you, for example, you know, doing great with your coaching and knowing that, hey, authentically, I've just got myself into this position where I know I can help because I've done it myself.
Yeah.
And it's come from that authentic place that you were just giving free knowledge. You know, you're helping people, and now I realize there's actually a business there.
Yeah.
That authenticity is so much more pure than like, I want to be a business mentor because X amount of money more or X amount of this.
Yeah.
It's that less logical and it's that more internal flow that I always think that's when it's meant for you, right? When it's just authentically evolving without even realizing it. And you look back and you're like, oh, damn, that just happened over the last few years, but it felt so normal because it was just authentically you doing what you were doing, you know?
Yeah, totally, mate, totally. And it's funny you say that as well, because I think, like, for me, and we were saying this actually in the gym earlier, like, if I'm ever talking to someone who's looking to grow, I'm like, okay, let's figure out why you want to grow. What's your perfect week look like? What does your perfect day look like? Like, what do you want from your life, you know? Otherwise, you end up just kind of like chasing this shiny object with like on a treadmill with like a fucking carrot dangling in front of you, like continually like more. And I mean, I even had a client of mine recently, well, yesterday actually, sent a voice note, kind of listened to it, absorbing what she was saying. And she was like, we set a target for 6 months. I've hit it in 2. I don't know what to do with myself now. I feel like I should be pushing harder, doing more. And I'm like, all that's happened is you've hit the goalpost. Now you've moved the goalpost again. So you've not actually appreciated where you are. And I said, like, realistically, the best thing you can do right now is probably take 3 days off of work and reflect.
I love that.
You know?
Soak it in. Like, actually have that time to appreciate where you're getting to, because otherwise the treadmill never stops. And it's totally. Like, I know when you probably first started coaching, similar to me, there was these like financial figures that you thought, oh, that'd be crazy. I never even imagined getting there. And then when you get there, it's just it's just this obligatory thing. Oh, I've hit that number. You think like, oh, my whole life will change if I hit this number. These people do it. And you hit it and you're just like, oh, and nothing actually changes. So if you keep chasing that, you know, undeep sort of number on a scale, it's always going to just move you next, what's more and more. But we're actually like, okay, nice. This is what I really wanted. I'm going to sit with this a bit. I'm going to appreciate myself and then sit back and think, where do I want to go from here? Instead of it just being driven in the financial sense. It's so much more important. And I think it's really lost in the mentoring world as well, personally.
Massively. And this is why I set out, and I said this to my team recently, like I was like, I want my biggest flex this year to be the support we can give to our clients.
100%.
You know? Like, don't get me wrong. If I wanted to, I could be like, you know what? This money we've earned, let's go get a supercar and put it everywhere. I'm like, I do that, and supercars are cool. They are cool. But for me, the real flex is how many clients can I go meet and have a sick day out with them and have a really cool experience with them and like actually make a bigger impact and make a big difference, and know that they'll go back to their partner or their mom or their dad or whoever and be like, oh, I met up with George today. He was exactly the same as what he was online, like we were saying about earlier, really helped me out, making a massive difference. And then they tell their friends, and then their friends get involved, and other people are inspired. And like, that to me is, you know, when I look at people within the industry, not even in coaching, but just like business owners in general, and I think, right, who is it that I'm looking up to here? It's always people that have that mentality of like, how can I give back? How can I help more? How can I, you know, actually fucking contribute to society. And to get a little bit, I guess, deeper a bit, it almost becomes like a bit more of like a tribal sort of movement and passion project, because it's literally within our DNA to learn something and then pass on that knowledge, because that gives you your purpose. That, you know, allows you to wake up in the morning. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. It allows you to like to keep moving forward and moving forward and moving forward, because you're able to do that.
Yeah, it's
you know?
purposeful, and it's like it's almost like the culture
Yeah.
of like, hey, this is truly what I am and how I'm doing things, and this will attract the right people or not. Because let's be honest, how many adverts are there with a Lamborghini or Ferrari being like, I'll make you X amount in a month? But really, when those adverts are there, if you don't aspire to be like those people, if this supercar doesn't tick your box, you know, then there's nothing to aim for, really.
Totally, mate. You know what? I want to pull back something actually that we mentioned there, talking about like why we do it in purpose and stuff. This year, bearing in mind, I mean, we're not going to talk about this in today's podcast. I don't see there's any point, but I know you're running an incredibly successful coaching business. Like, you're crushing it. On average, how many pieces of content do you post a week?
You got me. You knew that was well. So far in this whole year, and what we're now in March, I've posted 2 bits of content.
There we go. And the reason that your business is growing is because you're fucking sick at what you do. Not to big you up too much, but I mean, you're a very handsome bloke and you're very smart. But it's great.
Take it, thank
you. But it's growing for the right reasons, man. And it's growing because like you're really good at what you do. And I think that, and this is why I wanted to mention this on here, is like, I feel like people are forgetting that you're a coach. You know, you're not, when you do your PT qualification, don't get me wrong, we all know marketing's important, lead generation is important, building an offer is important, running a consultation call is important. Like, it's all important. But when you're on a call with someone who's wanted to become a client, they've got an opportunity to change their life, they can really, really, really make a huge impact, not only in their own life, but people around them. That's what needs to be the focus point. And the reason you're doing so well, and you said to me, it was like, oh, you know, like, kind of, do I grow or do I not? Or do I change things? Like, it's an amazing problem to have. And I think that a lot of people get stuck in, let's market, and get stuck in just out and out comparison online, you know? And I know for yourself right now, obviously you've been living in Dubai for how many years was it?
2 years now, yeah.
2 years. Okay, cool. And then you're looking to move to Portugal.
Hopefully, depending on visas, ASAP, could be by May.
Yeah. That would be incredible, man. But like, look at the life you've built just from actually giving a shit about other people.
Yeah, it's funny because I got caught up in the, you know, I catch myself, especially before I used to be like, I should be posting content. But then when I actually get out of that mindset, I'm like, when I sit back, there's still clients coming in, there's still referrals, everything's going well. And it just was, it's that more. And like, yeah, of course, content is important. I'm not saying everyone should be posting content. I'm not like bragging about it that I'm not. It's something that's, but it's, again, if it's not authentically to me in my time, my life right now, like nothing changes within my business and with my life if I start putting more content out, apart from I've got a little bit less time because I'm putting out content. And for right now, it's like, do I need more clients or do I want more time? You know, I've got a beautiful daughter. Well, no, I'm like, well, I value my time, and you know, for me, it's ebbs and flows of life. So there's times to push, there's other times to pull back. And right now I'm at a place where I can, you know, pull back. When I say pull back, I still work hard. I'm on my clients, I'm coaching the whole time. And I'm just very blessed. I'm in a position where my clients talk to their friends and families, and there's a referral system in place that works really well.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I'll tell you what, actually, if you wouldn't mind, just because I know that so much of your business is based on referrals, and I feel like so many coaches would love for that to be their business. What does that look like in terms of like the deliverables on a day-to-day basis to your clients? Like, how are you getting them the results, and what does the communication look like?
With the communication, well, from the get-go, from the call, I will say if someone needs 6 months of coaching plus, I'm not even going to talk to them about monthly coaching. And so from the get-go, it's authentically telling them, hey, what you really need. And always my goal is to get what I call to the performance zone, which is when you're in the shape of your life, but you are, you know, less stressed, you're resilient, your habits are in place. And I call it performance zone because you can perform, you're ready for everything in life and you're up for everything. And then each client, I'll design a roadmap, the phases that we're going to work through, how to get there. That'll be part of their onboarding. You know, I'll talk through it in their welcome videos, etc. And then when it comes to actual deliverables, you know, I'm just communicating nonstop with my clients.
Mm.
As we were talking about before, I really pride myself on the highest levels of communication. If you are my client, you are going to hear my voice a lot.
Yeah.
And you're going to hear it for a reason. You're not just going to hear my voice for the sake of it. I'm going to be like, hey, George, seen that you missed your workout yesterday, just checking everything's all right. You're a little bit under your protein. I suggest that you snack on this. Is everything all good?
Mm.
You know, not, why didn't you miss your workout? Da, da, da. You know, I'm just checking in, holding them
Yeah.
accountable. And then that just keeps people on the path. And we're like, hey, you know, you're here, you're in priming phase. This is where we're going. Everything's going well. And I think it's just being able to, you know, sell the ship for them in the right direction so they know where they're going and how they're actually getting there. But most importantly, being held accountable to get there.
Yeah.
Did that answer your question?
Mate, 100%. Because I think at the end of the day, like everything in life that is, whenever you're trying to achieve anything at all, whatever goal it may be, the number one thing that people lack is accountability, right? Because realistically, like nowadays, you can go on ChatGPT and get a training plan. You can go on ChatGPT and get a meal plan. You can go online and you can research like what kind of supplements should I maybe be taking. You know, you could even get to a point whereby you could go on the internet and find out like, right, what should I train? How should I eat? Da, 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 da. But we're human beings. That's designed for a robot, and we're not robots. We need someone in our corner. We need someone who's going to understand, like, you know, when I've got home from work and my manager's been a twat to me and I'm super stressed because the train was packed and I've got home and I'm starving hungry and I've had an argument with my missus and I just want to hit the fuck it button. Someone on the other end of the phone being like, dude, we got this. Here's what we're going to do. It's all good. This is what the plan's going to look like. I'm going to adjust this. I'm going to adjust that. It's fine. You can talk to me. Like that makes the fucking world of difference. The absolute world of difference.
100%. And that's when, you know, was a coach for 9 years in person. And when you're coaching someone in person, that's what it's like. You hear about people's life. You get on an emotional level with people, you know, you meet them where they're at and you help and support them. And that was just something I said to myself, whatever happens online, I'm taking that with me because that's what I get a lot of a buzz off as well. I love the coaching side of things.
Yeah. That's just very much the same as me. And it's funny that you mentioned this actually, because we were talking earlier about like, you know, the money side of things and stuff like that. I've said to my team recently, I said, look, as a business, if we wanted to, we could pivot and the company would make more money. It would make more money. And I look at that and there'd be a percentage of the population, which is valid, that would go, well, why don't you do it then? And I say, well, for me, what that pivot would look like would not align to my values. We'd be pumping in anyone and everyone left, right, and center. It would be a big group format. You know, we'd hire more staff. You know, the information's there to be learned, but then I'm being pushed back out of the business, and people are coming for me. Now, I know that the typical mentorship setup and the typical coaching setup for a lot of people who are kind of like looking to grow a massive business, that's what typically tends to happen. However, I can go to sleep at night with a massive smile on my face, wake up in the morning, look at my laptop, and like, this is going to sound like a weird thing to mention, I've got so many inside jokes with different clients. Do you know what I mean? And I love that shit. I love that shit, because for me, a client will become a friend far quicker than a friend will become a client, because once that client has built a relationship with you, got result, the trust is there, you know, they feel like you're truly supporting them in your corner. Over time, as you build those relationships, you know, I've been out in Dubai for like the last 7 days. I've met 4 of my clients in 7 days. You know, I fucking love that. I'm blocking time out of my diary and be like, no, I'm not going to take any consultations. I want to support you guys, you know? And I thrive off of that. I really do. And I do fully appreciate that it's not as scalable, but I didn't get into business to scale a business. I got into it because I want to fucking help people.
It resonates so much that I had breakfast with my clients this morning.
And
I loved it and buzzing for them. You know, their wedding, they were looking great. They're on honeymoon. Like, of course I make that time to see you and spend that time with you. And I think, again, that just goes the longest way, because if you start doing things that aren't true to your values, what will happen? You'll just have a little bit of internal resistance. And like, I fully know I could scale much more if I changed the way I approach things with my service, because it would save me a lot of time. But at the end of the day, it's something that my business is called Coached by Callum. You know, this is my reputation. This is how I do things. I'm not here to build an empire. I'm here to, you know, look after my family, do work that I love, help people, and, you know, make an impact. And I guess it's all just down to the individual themselves. There's no this way is right, this way is wrong. It's just what's right for you.
Yeah, totally that, mate. Totally that. And I think it's funny because I definitely think there are kind of two camps, and I don't think there's anything wrong with either camp, quite frankly. But you've got one camp of business owner that are like very, very money driven, and the other camp that are very, very kind of impact driven.
Mhm.
And if you look at, almost business owners that have achieved like celebrity status, someone like Elon Musk,
Mhm.
he wants to put people on Mars.
Mhm.
He's unbelievably mission driven. He's taken over Twitter, and he knows for a fact. I mean, don't quote me on this, guys. But like lost some money, whatever else. But he's like, I remember him saying in an interview, they were like, "Oh, you've done this and you've done that and you've lost money," and he was like, "I don't care. I
Mhm.
do not care. I saw a problem. I wanted to fix a problem."
Mhm.
And ironically, he's also one of the richest fucking people on the planet.
Yeah.
You know,
Uh-huh.
so it just goes to show that you don't have to like chase this shiny object in order to kind of
Mhm.
build something pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, and with him, he's just that risk taker as well.
Yeah.
He is that person who will go all in, and
Mm.
at the end of the day, it is about being all in with your energy and where you're putting things. And if you
Yeah.
do go all in, you're all in.
Yeah.
There's no other option to make things work. It's almost like what we were talking about earlier, when almost like having some sort of like dark energy. Where like, I need to do this
Mm.
because of this reason.
Mm.
Anything where you just all in with your effort, and if it
Mm.
is aligned to who you really are, it's going to work out because
Yeah.
you're all in.
Oh, mate, totally. Okay, let's. I'll pose this question to you then. So I know we've shared some pretty cool stories like behind the scenes and stuff. Has there ever been a moment in your career that you feel like definitively is a moment where you had to go all in, and either it didn't pay off and you learned the lesson, or you had to pay off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say when I first started online coaching was literally that moment. I was traveling when COVID happened. I had to come back from Colombia, and I remember being back in England in my parents' house, and I had no money to my name, and I saw this like online coaching, of Adam Haley OTE, and I had no money. I said to my brother, and I was like, if you lend me $4,000 to this course, I'll pay you $8,000 back in 2 months.
Yeah.
And he took it as a bit of a challenge, so I went into debt to go on to that. But in my head, I was like, I'm all in here. I'm going to do this. And it's something like that when you make it work. And I also remember, this is just randomly popped to my mind. I remember I got offered a job as a financial advisor in Sussex area, because quite into investing, all that sort of stuff. This guy took me to his house. He's like, you should do this job, blah, blah. I remember telling my old man, he's like, this is great. You'd get this wage, you get this car. I remember just having this moment like, do I want the wage and the car, or do I want to work online, live where I want, and help people and do what I'm really passionate about? I remember just having this well, I'm going all in here.
Yeah.
Fuck that. This all in here, and then it just has to work. It's like we were talking about earlier, because all that focus was there.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's sorry, go on.
I was going to say, and I think for me, like when I did that with the first mentorship investment, and that was a lot of money to me at the time. And the way I would see it, money for me at that time was freedom. I was like, I could travel in Colombia for 8 months with this, doing all these experiences, but instead this is going into me learning and growing. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it well and right. So I think the financial commitment
Definitely
helps as well.
Oh, mate, 100%. I actually think that the first part of the accountability, whenever you're investing in anyone, is the pinch, this is a lot of money, And it's funny because I don't think that the goal for any business should ever be let's charge as much as possible. It should be obviously, charging the right person, charging the right amount for the person sat in front of you, the value that they're going to get, et cetera, et cetera. But, with you lending that money, funnily enough, like I remember, I've worked with a few different mentors now, but almost every time, because over time, as you kind of work with different people and stuff like that, where you need different skill sets, the price I've invested has gone up and up and up and up and up. And almost every time, comparatively, it's still been that kind of moment.
100%.
And that pinch is the thing that that push you and be like, right, you've just invested a lot of money right now. Like you have to make this work. And that's why I feel like, for me personally, a lot of people feel like some pressure from that, and they say, oh, I don't want to be under pressure. That's so necessary to grow.
100%.
It's like when someone says to me, I don't want to be under pressure. That to me says I'm not ready to be accountable to my own actions, which we could go quite deep into that, but realistically, like that I think that stems from, and this is okay because we all struggle with insecurities. I'm sure I probably still do. But I think that stems from someone just like almost not quite trusting in themselves yet to just go after it. Because realistically, I really do believe that whether it be a mentoring business or a coaching business, if someone joins on board and they're skeptical, they'll almost look for every minor detail that could potentially go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as it happens, this is literally how quantum mechanics works. Like what you focus on grows.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what you observe grows, right? So because of that, you could be having an amazing experience, and then there's like one minor fault or one minor thing that's a little bit tricky. Oh, I knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you were a kid and you're playing yellow car. Suddenly you see loads of yellow cars
Yeah.
because you're thinking about yellow cars. If you tell yourself something's not going to happen again and again and again and again and again, that I think I can't remember what it is. I remember Bruce Lee talking about this. I used to be like a huge Bruce Lee fan when I was a kid. And he would say, like, you have to be very careful what you say to yourself subconsciously, because your brain does not know the difference between you saying, I'm a fat piece of shit, I'm lazy, I'm stupid, and actual reality. Which is why
believing it, yeah.
Oh, totally. Which is why my coaching team, even now, we have like a bit of a saying of just being funny, sexy, and cool all of the time, always. Because we say it as a joke, but the more you say it, the more you're like, yeah, you know what? I am funny, I am sexy, I am cool. And again, it's very, very, very tongue in cheek. But I found that for me, it's allowed me to kind of quieten the inner critic of, oh God, what if this doesn't happen? You're not smart enough, you're not good enough.
Yeah, it all comes down to self-image at the end of the day, and it's
Totally.
Psycho-Cybernetics. Great book to read if you've never read it, by the way. Highly recommend. But it's like when I'm on a discovery call with a potential new client. Some people have been stung before. They've tried fad diets. They've tried everything under the sun, and they honestly believe it's their fault that things aren't working because they've tried keto. You know, they've done the juice diets. They're training hard, so they're like, it must be me because all these things work. And then when you get to the end of the call and I'm talking like anything coming up, and lots of it's a self-belief. Yeah. It's like when you can actually embed that belief into someone, like, no, this will work because we are going to make it work. And I guarantee you that. And they believe you so much that they finally start to feel like, okay, this is it. This is going to work is massive, because otherwise lots of people just get in their own way. Even with business mentoring, or business itself, like we will always be their own bottleneck. It's like our upper limit problem. Now we can get to a certain level, and then because of our subconscious, we'll put a limit on ourselves, like, you know, I'm here, this is it. And it's just about challenging self-beliefs. And I think it's important to do as business owners, like for you as a mentorship, to do for your, you know, coaches, and for me also for the clients. That should be like, you know, I get on discovery calls and people like, you know, that six pack, like I've seen you climb up, you know, not like me. If I could even get close to that, straight away I'll challenge them. But like, why are you putting a limit on how far we can take things before we've even started? And they're like, what do you think? Yeah, I believe. I actually know.
Yeah.
You need to know. And I think it's that, like, that clarity, which is really important. And I think with you, when you come off really authentically to the other coaches and be like, I know I can help. You know, so other people, they believe in themselves because, like, well, if he believes so much, I'm going to believe.
Yeah. And you know what I think that is? I honestly, hand on heart, think it's because a lot of people lack the courage to be happy. They're terrified of what it would feel like to be happy, because they've been so unhappy for so long, and being unhappy is so predictable to them, and failing is so predictable to them, that God forbid they actually start believing in themselves and things start to succeed. It'll be like a dog trying to catch a car. If you caught it, you wouldn't know what to do with it. It's like, fuck, I've got everything I ever wanted. Now what do I do? You know? And I think it's such a massive thing for us in society. You know, when we talk about you know, mental health, we're living in a mental health epidemic. I think that, you know, since everything that happened with like lockdowns and stuff like that, and now we're, you know, a lot more isolated. People are kind of looking at their screens a lot more. They're looking at the laptops. They're constantly comparing themselves to other people. I think that, you know, ever since, for me personally, I mean, again, I turned 30 years old this year, and I think that even seeing the coaching industry over the last 10 years, I'm seeing so many people struggling, like so many people struggling. I honestly do think it's because it's so much easier to compare yourself now than what it was before, because of the easy access and availability to information. And yes, of course, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, podcasts can be an amazing source of information for people, but it's so easy to just scroll to a certain post, to get triggered by a certain message, and for you to really like get that into your psyche and believe that, you know. Which is why I think that something that we'd go a long way of doing is starting to recognize how we can get our health back to kind of true health. And what I mean by true health is someone will come to me, oh, George, I'm overwhelmed, I'm anxious, my routine is out the window, I'm not sleeping great, I'm struggling with my work, I don't know how to keep up with things. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock at night, and the entire planet's information is this far away from their face because they're comparing themselves to other people, and they're addicted to it because that earns them money, gives them safety, gives them security, helps them gain clients, helps them to look after clients. Like, that's their life, and it's just there constantly, and they can't let go of it.
Constant dopamine trigger. And lots of times when I talk to my clients about stress, it comes down to the breath. I'm like, hey, when was the last time you breathed in for 3 seconds through your nose, exhaled for 10 out your mouth, full. And I'm like, just do that for me for 3 minutes, then let me know how stressed you feel.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, super simple, game changing. But when we're in this sort of like pent up cortisol stuff constantly going on, it's so hard to break out of that. And that's why it's a lot of time to get people to actually like breathe, step back a bit, actually come back to your breath. It's all fight or flight at the end of the day. Yeah. The quickest way to change your hormonal state and how your body is feeling is with your breath.
Yeah.
If you're doing long, slow exhales, you're just telling your nervous system that you're safe, you're okay. But if you're here, like in comparison mode, thinking of all these things, and you're just like breathing like this, and thinking about all these things, your body's like ready to fight a tiger,
Yeah.
Giant pelican or whatever, a hawk, like your body's in that mode.
Yeah.
We're not evolved to be like constantly, so just step back, like really focus on de-stress. A big thing I talk about my clients a lot is stress, sleep, coming back to that just calm nervous system, because when you're coming from that place, one, you're going to make better decisions, two, you're going to get better results, and most importantly, the quality of your life is going to be so much higher.
Yeah.
So then they're putting those simple steps, how can you do that, into the coaching, which is really, really important. And again, with like what you were saying with as clients comparing themselves, it's just that appreciation, that coming back to, it sounds woo-woo, but it's just coming back to like the gratitude thing. Like, hey, what am I actually grateful for? What have I got? What have I learned? Okay, cool. And then keep coming back to that place. And then it's always going to feel much more calm than, oh shit, Jimmy's little blah, 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 I need to do this. Oh, why haven't I done that? Oh, I can't sleep because I'm thinking about it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's really important to just like bring things down a tone.
Oh, totally. And the irony of it is, I think that when we're trying to like strive to achieve something, we think, right, I need to be disciplined, I need to work harder, I need to work smarter. Even on my t-shirt, it literally says success, love, speed. You'd assume that what that means is, right, go, 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 fast, 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 quick, 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 let's go. Actually, what this really means is if we can work like a lion and not like a sheep, the hours that we're spending outside of that intense amount of work, whether it be training or cardio, like you were saying earlier, like if you're doing cardio, do cardio, or on your laptop or talking to clients or whatever it may be, then being able to then kind of completely switch off, right, parasympathetic mode now, let's drop our heart rate, let's actually chill out and fucking enjoy our lives. And that's why I think that even now, obviously I know that, being a family man and kind of having that and, thinking about kind of the move to Portugal and stuff, which I think is amazing. Even though I don't have kids, I'm already thinking, how can I set my week up so that when I do have kids, I can be the best fucking dad possible? Because I don't want to get into bad habits now and then have to try and rectify that later,
100%. And, as like my daughter's a year and 3 months, it is monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah.
I'm brushing my teeth, holding her. She's grabbing her toothbrush, brushing her teeth. If I'm constantly on my phone, she's going to be constantly want to be on a phone. So I'm really purposeful now of like being actionable with my time when I'm doing things, especially if I'm around my daughter.
Yeah.
Because that's what she sees and that's what she's going to tap into. So it makes it even more, when you have a kid, you value your time even more and you really reflect on how you're showing up. Because as I said, monkey see, monkey do. And you want to be that inspiring dad, right? You want to see a training, you want to see stretching or meditating, or you want it to be curious. Why am I reading? Oh, dad reads, maybe I should read, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of like, because that's not what I want for her.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's so interesting, man. It really is. Like, I mean, how would you say that life has changed since becoming a dad? Because it's been a daughter's a year and 3 months, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Must have been sleep, obviously, but
sleep. And I used to be the morning guy. I've up early, do my walk, do my stretches, and I've had to like realize that, hey, my routine's not going to be perfect, and that's okay, and embrace and enjoy the chaos a lot more.
Yeah.
Because kids are hectic. They are beautiful and hectic, and you just got to realize that's okay. Because if I kept trying to be Callum, who works every minute to that minute, and then I have my break, and then I eat, then I train, that's just, it's not the reality. Sometimes when you're whacked, if your sleep hasn't been so great, you need to adapt. It's like what I say to my clients. Sometimes you push, sometimes you pull back. And so now it's just being like that with myself, and trying to be really dedicated of when, like, hey, if I'm with my daughter, I'm with my daughter, and not to like cross fingers of, I'm sort of working, sort of with Sophia, I'm sort of with you, I'm sort of working, just giving each thing its focus, but also allowing myself to know that my calendar doesn't dictate my life anymore, because I can control my calendar. So I control the calendar instead of the calendar controlling me. Whereas before it was the other way around. I just stick to the calendar, whatever it told me to do, I was doing it. Whereas now I'm like, if I need to swap things around, like today, with you in the podcast, I was like, cool, I'll just change that sort of thing.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. And I think like having that level of fluidity, but also the self-awareness to recognize that whenever you're doing something, you don't want to be just like truly present within that is massive. Because realistically, I think that that's the key of when people talk about like kind of having that like work-life balance. I don't really think you ever fully achieve a work-life balance. I think it's more of like a work-life synergy, aka you just kind of like, they're going to merge. There are going to be kind of crossover elements. Sometimes you're going to start earlier, sometimes you're going to have to finish later, especially as like an online coach and building the business and stuff. But it's interesting because I heard a statistic recently and I thought, you know what, actually that makes a lot of sense, because having ADHD, I can resonate with it. And it was that if we're like in deep work and we're focusing on a particular task, if we get distracted by something for like over a few seconds, it can take 23 minutes to refocus.
Yeah, I've seen that, yeah.
That's insane. And I saw that statistic and I thought, you know what? I mean, I've got Opal on my phone, but I like turned it off for a couple of months because I was just like, I was in like, right, head down and work mode because I just needed to do stuff. So I was like, if I limit this, it's going to kick me off my phone at like 11 a.m. I can't have that. So I'm going to re-download it.
I had the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I was like, shut up, Opal. But I need to re-download it again.
I pay for this app I'm not going to use.
Yeah, literally, mate. Literally that. Yeah, like I just thought, you know what? Let me just like look at how many times per day I'm picking up my phone. Just to be kind of curious of like, right, how many times am I reaching for it, sending a message or looking at a thing or whatever. And I think there was one day in February, and it was within when we were running a launch, and we had 2 weeks. It just went mental. Like it was mad. And on that particular day, I think I picked up my phone to look at it something like 312 times. And I just looked at that and I was just like, how?
It's nuts when you actually like think about what it is.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, whoa.
It was like, on average, I was feeling the need to pick it up every 3 minutes. What the fuck?
Yeah. I remember when my laptop, my phone told me like my screen time had been 8.5 hours. I was like, oh,
yeah,
that's gross.
Yeah.
Like, I like to be outside. I got into fitness because I'm an outdoorsy training, and I'm like, oh, I've had 8.5 hours in front of my laptop. But at the same time, it's also fine. Because sometimes that's what you got to do when you're building a business. It's just realizing that if that's constant all the time, and that's not what you want to be doing, then something has to change. But it's like the seasons of push and pull.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And I think that this is actually something that I kind of changed in the last like 6 to 9 months. Is beforehand, I would work kind of like 6 days a week, and sometimes even on a Sunday, I'd work like a couple hours as well, which I feel like for a lot of kind of business owners that have grown and scaled things, they've got like staff and team, is kind of quite normal. But I think because the vast majority of people in my life, like friends and family and things like that, do work a 9 to 5 or do work Monday to Friday, I was like, you know what? I want my weekends back. So I just took them back, and I was just like, I'm not working Saturdays and Sundays anymore. It's just a non-negotiable. I'm just not going to touch work. Launch week, I did work Saturday and Sunday, but that was the first time I did that. First time I've worked a weekend in, I think it was something like, I think I managed 7 months or 8 months with no weekend work. And the business grew a lot more, because I got to a Monday, well, actually I got to a Sunday night, and I was genuinely itching to open work. I couldn't wait to go again, and that's the best feeling in the world, because like I remember the kind of crushing anxiety feeling of it being a Sunday evening and me being like, got to go back and work at the golf club. I've got to get up early, and I'm going to be like kind of hedge cutting and things like this and everything else. And I was getting paid like minimum wage, getting treated pretty poorly. And I just had, I would always have this like heavy feeling on my chest of just feeling so fucking anxious about going back to work. Whereas now it's like, you know, what we was talking about earlier in the gym, like whenever you are going through a period of like, right, what's next? Where are we going into? Like what's happening, what's changing and stuff like that. Just always kind of remembering that, you know, where you have been, appreciating kind of what's currently going on and thinking like, right, what do I actually want? You know? And I think it's a question that we need to ask ourselves far more often, which is why I do really believe that taking a few days off is some of the best things you'll ever do for your business. You know?
Yeah, I think every just human in general, especially in today's life, you need at least like 5 days where you're just away from technology, you're away from that side of the world, and you can actually just like unwind fully. I remember for me, I was like last year, I'm making a thing that every year I'm having one trip that's like really relaxing, another trip that's like an adventure, and another one that's like a challenge where I'm going to evolve.
That's cool.
And then having these 3 separate things, which I know is going to fill my cup in different ways. When you are in grind mode, because realistically, I work 6 days a week, most weeks, you know, a few hours on a Sunday because I want to, because it sort of sets me up for the week. But having like key things like that to look forward to goes a long way as well.
Oh, mate, massively. You know, it was only last year was the first time where I took, you know, like how if someone's working for a company, they'll have like 20 days holiday. Last year was the first time first time I've done that since I started coaching. I started coaching in 2017. And I was like, no one died.
Yeah, it's so true.
Everyone was fine.
Oh, my business is still actually running. Okay.
Like it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. It really is.
Reminds me of the meme where it's like online coach on holiday and he's in the paragliding with his laptop, just like 30 feet in the air.
Yeah. Funnily enough, actually, this is a really rogue story, but I remember one time being at SW4 in Clapham, and I was at the ant stage, which is just like, I think I just stood in the same spot all day, to be fair. And I started talking to this guy who ran his own like gardening company. And at the time I was a greenkeeper, so we just hit it off and was just like waffling to each other and stuff like that. And he was telling me how him and his brother, do you know Machu Picchu? I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Machu Picchu.
That's the one, yeah. So him and his brother had gone there. And they ended up going on like a 3-week trip because again he kind of just like put his business to one side for a period of time. It was in the winter, so there's less gardening work in the winter for people anyway. I did that for 3 weeks, and for 3 weeks they didn't touch technology. And he said, I can honestly hand on heart say it took a few days, but by the time I got to like day 4, I can't remember really, other than a little bit of isolation and loneliness, but other than those 2 emotions, he said I don't remember experiencing a single negative emotion over the next like 18, 19 days. And I think like, fuck, like human beings never human anymore.
Yeah.
We just robot and then go, it's right, fine.
Yeah.
Like,
I know exactly. There's a point in my life where I was so sort of, you know, sort of impulsive with my energy, very on the ball. And I'll just tell an honest story. Like I was a fitness coach on a 6-star mini like yacht. You know, it's literally called Seaborn Odyssey. It was the fanciest ship. Everyone on there, absolute millionaires. I was going to be on board for 9 months. And in my head, I was making so much money in tips. I was like, I'm going to do this, go around the Caribbean. I'm going to save this money, buy a house. Cut a really long story short, got fired within 2 weeks for sleeping with the assistant cruise director and getting so drunk in her room because she could get like room service and stuff. So we'd Dom Perignon, caviar and whatnot. I missed taking a yoga class in the morning. I got kicked off in Barbados on the same day.
Oh my God.
So I've gone from working so hard to get this dream job, being in the Caribbean, like around all these millionaires, to then back in Eastbourne in the rain.
Shit.
And I just said to myself, like, Cal, you need to fucking sort your shit out, man.
Yeah.
So I just went online, went to a Hatha yoga ashram in India. Not really done loads of yoga before. Used to take a few classes as part of the fitness thing. I mean, that was meditation for 4 hours a day in the forest, no caffeine, hardly any flavors in your food, sleeping on a rock hard bed, doing asana for 4 hours a day, doing breath work. And the Callum that like came out after doing that for 5 weeks straight. And then after that, I went hiking in the Himalayas for 2 weeks.
Wow.
You know, just in the mountains with this girl I met in the ashram, you know, in nature. That 6-week period of just being like dyslexic, kind of ADHD, like always on the ball, like da 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 da. Then come back and be like, oh fuck, man, there's so much to appreciate about life. And I was just having that point to actually like, I have to pause. When I first got there, I could barely sit cross-legged.
Mm.
We're doing like some fire ceremony at the start, and they're like, okay, we're just going to get into a 2-hour meditation. I remember my hips screaming at me, like so painful, and me just thinking like, what am I doing, you know? But then after just actually just giving myself so much time, my brain to reset, super beneficial. So
Yeah.
anytime we can just be like, right, I'm actually just going to let my brain properly reset for a bit, I think is so valuable. I think the next thing I want to do is a dark retreat.
You know what? I actually know someone who's been to a few of those. His name's Preet. I could certainly link you up with that.
My best friend in Portugal, he hosts them.
Oh, really?
And he's like,
amazing.
Cal, you've been working hard. Like, you would love this. It's just
Yeah.
like, for me, that just sounds like there's something about that that's so intriguing.
Mate, I'm there. Seriously, you drop me a text, me like, I'm going, I'm fucking there. Like,
I
I
wouldn't even know you were there.
Good.
It's just like the value of the reset.
Oh,
like
yeah.
the full reset.
Yeah. It's mad that you say that, actually, because I can think of like every moment in my life where you know, when like you have like a moment, it's hard to explain, but you just have like a moment and you're just like, oh, life is fucking unreal. I'd say from memory, almost half of mine have been in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
Like literally, I can think of like 7 or 8 times where I've been in the sea by myself, either at sunrise or at sunset, and I'm like, oh. I did it the other day. Well, obviously staying in the marina, I love the marina. I think it's beautiful, but I was just like, you know what? It's 5:30. I've done all of my work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna head down there. My phone, like, because I'm not actually set up yet. I've not got like, I have to go in somewhere to be connected to Wi-Fi. So I'm disconnected by default, which is actually quite nice. So I kind of head down there, brought my book. There's like camels walking past me. I was like, this is pretty crazy. And just went in the sea. And because the sun had like basically at the point where it was setting, no one else was in the sea.
Mm-hmm.
So I just swam out a little bit. I mean, I love to swim. That's something I never talk about. I love swimming so much. So I kind of swam out a fair bit. And I went to touch the bottom of the water and I couldn't quite touch it. I was like, fuck it, I'll just bob. And kind of lifted my feet up and I was just like floating perfectly. And I kind of looked over at the sunset and I was just like, just this absolute like wave of euphoria just like kind of came over me. And I was just like, I almost started going over in my head and I was just like, I can travel wherever I want. I can spend time with whoever I want. I can work whenever I want. And I'm like stable.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, and then I kind of was like almost going through like a bit of a mental list in my head because funnily enough, a few days before that, I had like, it wasn't a bad day. I just had like a bad morning. Like mental health just was a bit like shit. And I was kind of like thinking back to that and I thought, realistically, I've got so many amazing things to be like so grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of made me realize that, you know, realistically, that's what I want my life to look like. And I think that a lot of people with moving over to Dubai move because it's like, right, going to grow, going to hustle, going to grind, going to build something amazing, going to do all these things, which is incredible. And I love that. And I feel like that really inspires me. I get a lot of inspiration from that. Mm-hmm. However, the way I see it is, when I'm talking to people about Dubai or even people who live here, not that many people talk about the sea, which I find really interesting because I love the sea. And I'm like, it's literally the whole of Dubai.
It's beautiful beach.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm like, that for me, when I move here, has to be a non-negotiable. I want to go in the sea every week, every fucking week, and just have that like unwind time. No one else there. Well, I mean, maybe there'll be people on the beach and stuff, but just having that and just feeling like truly connected to that.
Yeah. The proper actual time where it's like, this is even more important than my work time is this time. And it reminds me of one of the best lessons from the ashram was wash your dishes with a smile on your face. Yeah. And then every day when I'm washing the dishes, you know, sometimes it's messy, you know, with a baby girl and whatnot. And that point of, and it's the whole thing of be grateful that you have dishes to wash, that you have just eaten food. And then, you know, once you start thinking like that, you're like, oh, of course, the roof over my head and whatnot. And from anything from the ashram, that's the thing that sticks with me the most because when I wash my dishes, I've got a smile on my face. Yeah. And I think that's like when you can bring it back to that pure, like you were saying, hey, my mental health. I think mental health is like a pendulum. Sometimes we're having peaks and troughs and it's always going to be moving. But when we've got like our like gratefulness together, our like appreciation, our time to unwind, it's much more stable. And it's just like coming back to that center as much as we can. Yeah. Totally. But I agree with you with the sea, man. Like every time I'm in the sea, I'm like, this is the best, you know, by the beach, so much to like feel so good to have it so close. Yeah. I love that so much, man. I want to find out more about this. Is it called an ashram? An ashram, yeah. An ashram, yeah. Because I don't know many people who have done that. I mean, Preet, who I mentioned earlier, like he's all about that. He loves it. Like he's always wanted me to go on like retreats and things like this. And because, you know, to be quite honest, I think the last maybe 6 to 9 months has been quite like a busy period of my life. I've just been working a lot.
But I can definitely see like I want to open up space towards the back end of the year to be able to do that kind of thing, even if I just like completely switch off for like 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever. But yeah, I'm curious to know like what was going through your mind when you're in those scenarios, you know?
Well, this is like a 200-hour yoga teacher training, so it's like a set thing, you know. Like there's like study, there's whatnot. It's not just like a holiday to relax sort of thing. It's like a once you do it, you know, you're a qualified hatha yoga teacher.
Oh, nice.
Was the thing, but
Yeah.
when I was there in the scenarios, man, I was loving it.
I
was loving it. You know, beautiful nature. I just got to sit and be simple, and you know, I could feel my body freeing up so much more, the stretching and all the breath work, and I loved it so much. And I don't want to be like, I went to an ashram and it was great, you know, changed my life. But it was actually something that was really influential for me at such a young age, because you know, I was more hot-headed. You know, I was expelled from school. I was very impulsive with my actions, and then that place was perfect for me. It's not going to be everyone's cup of tea. It's like for some people, it's, you know, you're sleeping on a rock hub. You might as well be sleeping on this table. You know, For some people, it's not going to be enjoyable, but for me at that point in my life, it was just perfect.
Yeah, I think those kind of experiences from in my eyes are almost like you have to go through a little bit of like an ego death almost, because I think particularly for a lot of, I mean, I don't want to speak for just guys, but I've noticed like being out here, because it's ultra competitive, I personally can almost like think of people in my mind that I think, you know, if this group of guys went there, they'd really struggle with this, because they're almost like addicted to the grind, addicted to having some pressure, having some stress. I know that I've certainly been addicted to stress. You know, when you're constantly like, right, how can I do more? How can I create more? How can I build more? Whatever. Whereas that's like the complete opposite of that. Like just allowing yourself to like let go for a period of time.
Yeah. And they're both super useful.
Yeah.
They're both just as important as each other. Yeah. We need that stress. We need to have that thing in our head that says, I know I'm capable of more, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to work hard. It's to, you know, it's to have that dog that's like, I'm going to get this done, whatever it takes. Then also have that self-appreciation to be like, okay, once the dog's got the bone, now let me enjoy and come back, sort of thing. But
yeah, that's like a question I like to ask myself, is like, what happens when the hard work stops working? AKA, I mean, if like, not to brag, but I can work hard. Like I know you can too, but like I can. That's one thing, like within my staff, I'm like, right, I have to be able to work 20% harder than any of my staff. And that sounds like such an egotistical thing to say, but I'm like, if I'm going to be a leader, I need to fucking lead. However, I also know it's talking from ego when I say that, because if I only rely on hard work, I'm done. Because if it's like, right, the harder you work, the more you grow. All right, we'll go work 100 hours then. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So for me, it's like, that's why it's so important. Like, I know it's quite unorthodox for like a mentor to be like, I only work 5 days a week, because the guys seem to just work 24/7. But I'm like, nah, I feel like I was saying this actually to Michael the other day. Traveling by myself has made me so much more self-aware, and knowing that although I do have to force myself to rest, it's becoming less and less forceful to rest, because I can appreciate the rest more and more and more. And now I feel like I'm finally getting to a place whereby I don't attach guilt to rest, because I used to so badly do that, man. Like I'd like shame myself. It would be like a Sunday evening, I'm like, oh my god, everyone's working, everyone's look, they're onboarding clients, like, oh look, people are putting out, I don't know, lead magnets or whatever the fuck it may be. Oh, like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am I? And that's what we were saying about in the gym, is getting rid of the shoulding machine. Oh, I should earn more money, I should grow a bigger business, I should get more clients, I should market harder, I should sell harder, I should. Just get rid of the fucking shoulding machine and you'll be a much happier individual. And ironically, that's when you become a human magnet and people are drawn to actually want to be around you, whether it be friendships or relationships or you know, business partnerships or whatever. So yeah,
it's just times. I feel like there's always periods of like full blown. Well, for me personally, I can't speak for anyone else. I know there's been times where I'm like, full blast. This 3 months, shit is gonna happen, because I am all in. Let's get it done, and then cool to do that point. Get to another level. Things are going okay. Sweet. Reevaluate, and then take it from there. So it's hard, because you know, I'm talking about rest and like, you know, being calm, but at the same time, I love the grind. You know, and it is good to have that mentality too. You know, that hunt, and like, oh, I know I can be doing better. I want to do this. It's just finding the right balance. Like, it's like with a client, for example, with me on the fitness sense. If someone's like, oh fuck, Callum, like I went off plan. I had a cheat meal. I'm like, you know, it's like, for example, if you're using, I didn't do work on a Sunday. I'm like, there's no such thing as a cheat meal.
Mm.
You just ate another food. Like, it's okay. You just know if you rebalance out the days after, it's absolutely fine. And it's removing the guilt side of things.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, if I'm not going to work on the Sunday, okay, it's happened. I'm not going to feel guilty about it because it's already not happening. So what's the point of me feeling guilty? Because now I'm just feeling guilty about something that's happened. Might as well just feel good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it
but you know
makes
what I mean?
sense. And at the end of the day, it's a superpower to control your emotions. You know, like being able to be in that state. And this is what the kind of coaching journey is about, right? That kind of transformative journey where like, okay, you look great and you're performing great, but like, what do you think about yourself? Like, how's this operating on a day-to-day basis? And that's when we can make the biggest impact. You know, to be honest with you, I still associate myself as a coach. I really do, because I just fucking love coaching. I love the industry. I think it's just amazing. It's changed my whole life.
Yeah,
I just think it's great.
agreed, it is.
Yeah, it really is, man. It really, really is. Okay, cool. I'm really hot, so I'm just going to pull my shorts down a little bit. But I was going to ask you a little bit of a deep question, and I'm kind of curious to see where this goes, because I feel like I can relate to you a hell of a lot. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night?
Other than your daughter, obviously.
Honestly, right now, what keeps me up at night? Nothing is the honest answer. If I'm being honest, you know, I kind of want to be like, oh no, there's this, but nothing keeps me up at night. There's nothing I'm over worried about. And for example, me and my family were in a transition of change. You know, we went to a visa meeting for Portugal with my partner last week, and she was really stressed. She was crying about it, and she was almost feeling bad. She's like, Callum, we might not be able to go to Portugal and have this dream life that we want if this doesn't come through. I'm like, yeah, but babe, like, we can't control that. So what's the point being stressed about it?
Yeah.
And I say, what doesn't keep me up at night? There's not things that I don't think about and like I'm worrying about. You know, obviously I have a daughter. I'm thinking about her future. How can I be the best dad possible? You know, that's what's really most important to me. And I miss my friends in Portugal, etc. What can I do? But nothing keeps me up at night. I worry about my family, my aging parents. You know, I've got a disabled brother that I'm going to make sure I look after and will always be okay because I exist and he's my brother. You know, there's things that I think about.
Yeah.
And I have responsibility for, and I will take that responsibility. But those things aren't keeping me up at night. They're part of things that I know I'm gonna do, sort of thing.
Yeah, they're just a part of Callum. Hey, like you were saying at the start, like, you know, when I said who's Callum, you're like, oh, you know, well, there's different parts of me and things like that. But I can see that.
Yeah, that was a big first question.
Just bam,
There's a lot.
just straight in. But no, that's cool, man. That's cool. So would you say that
if I ask the question back to you, what keeps you up at night?
You know what? I've been asked this question a few times, and I feel like every time the answer changes, but every time I've believed what the answer was that came out of my mouth because it was what I thought at the given point. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So in terms of what's keeping me up at night right now, and to be fair, this has actually kept me up at night the last few days, weirdly. And I wasn't expecting you to ask the question back to me, so I've not like pre-prepared this answer. But the thing that has actually kept me up, and Michael knows this because I like going to bed at 10, and I keep going to bed at midnight, which is so unlike me. I'm obsessively thinking of how Coach's Corner can make a bigger impact in the industry. Genuinely. I've been thinking about that so much. And actually, having slower working days is allowing me to come to a lot more conclusions. Because if my working days are packed with discovery call, catch-up call, check-ins, client messages, like everything, great, you're getting a lot done, but I can't think. Like, because I have ADHD and because I'm neurodivergent and because I'm like weird and like creative and it's just how my brain is, I have to have time to think. Like, so much so that we trained at Oxygen the other day and I absolutely loved it. Not because of the kit, it was amazing. Not because of the pool, that was sick. Not because it was all men, that was actually quite unique. Not because of any of those things, it was because it was fucking quiet. It was just dead quiet. Like, you could just hear someone breathing. And I'm like, this is incredible because I can think. Like, I'm doing an exercise and I'm thinking about like the portion of my lat that's being hit, which is so weird for me because, you know, I never have that. It's just like noise, stimulation, dopamine.
Caffeine tunes.
Literally. Yeah, literally. Which is why the topic of conversation going the way that it did was really interesting because I've been thinking about that a lot. So the thing that's keeping me up at night right now, and I recognize this, and I think I need to kind of like sit with it a bit more, is I'm absolutely potentially bordering on the side of being unhealthy, which I'm already seeing in myself, unhealthily obsessed with how can I make a bigger impact. It's all I'm thinking about on a day-to-day basis. And I don't think it's a bad thing to obsess over or to think about, but I almost feel like I need to just like sit in a room by myself for like 8 hours with just like a whiteboard, like a whiteboard the size of like this whole fucking room, and my pen, and just like fucking write shit. And then just stand back and be like, ugh. Have you ever seen Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
I need one of them sessions.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Just to attack it. I think I can see the future of it. I think I can. I think I just need to be patient. Like we were saying earlier, with business growth, my mentor, I'm working with Craig at the moment. He's awesome. And we did a calculation in California, and it was like, right, let's say, for example, the business grew 23% every single year, which we won't go into numbers today, but it's growing at a much, much faster rate than that. But let's just say it was like 23%. He was like, in 10 years' time, at a 23% growth rate, from the accumulative effect, you'd have more money than you could ever like know what to fucking do with. You're set for life if you grow at 23%. And I'm like, so why am I still so obsessed about like more, like why is that the case? And I think to go like really fucking, I guess, deep on it, and this is something that I've been working through therapy now for 1.5 years, and I'm stopping this month because I feel like I'm done, which is a fucking mad feeling and a mad thing to say out loud, but I feel like I'm done. I'm there. I'm never going to be perfect, but I'm like, everything's been unpacked.
Such a powerful mental shift that, like,
mate, literally,
like, I can keep going to therapy, I can keep re-going over the same things, or I can actually be like, hey, now I've got what I needed from this now. Boom, I'm going to close this page and see how it goes. That's a very powerful. So proud of you for that, because
thanks, man. I appreciate
it takes a level of commitment to actually be like, nah, yeah, I'm done.
Yeah, literally that, man. I appreciate that. It's
So when you say a bigger impact is what keep you up tonight, like, what is, if you were to try and talk that out loud, how does that look for you moving forward? How can you have a bigger impact for your clients?
Great question. So I'm starting to realize, and this is something that my therapist said to me like months ago, and I said it to two of my best mates, and they were like, yeah, you are. But I was like, yeah, but it's because you weren't in the conversation. And my therapist said to me, he was like, George, you're not Superman. It's like, you can't help everyone. And I remember saying back to him, I was like, yeah, but I really fucking want to. And he was like, yeah, but you can't. He was like, it's not physically possible. You don't have the hours in the day. Like, you can't do that. So I think realistically, the thing that I'm most afraid of is the thing that needs to be addressed. And that is actually letting go of a little bit of control, AKA being okay with bringing on more people that can help with the business, or to grow a bigger impact. It's right. The prices need to go sky high. It's one of the two ways. If we want to grow things, either the price doubles, which genuinely I think that we're worth double, which I know is a mental thing to say, but I genuinely think we're worth double than what we charge. In fact, I've actually had people say that I should treble my prices, which is bonkers.
That's good. I think that's how you should believe about the service that you give.
Yeah, totally. But I mean, the guy I've been working with, like some clients for like 3 years who are coaches, and I've already gone to some of them and said, if I was to go to war, I'd pick you. Therefore, if I'm hiring someone, I'm bringing you on because I need someone who I can trust, who's got a backbone, and that I actually fucking love. Like, I have so much love and respect for these guys. I really do. So I feel like the thing that's keeping me up at night is, instead of thinking control is this, like we all do, fucking like, let me hold this thing. Control is actually the polar opposite thing. Just actually letting go.
Yeah.
Being
that leader, stepping into the CEO role.
Totally.
Building, it's not who, not how.
Yeah.
Bringing in the right people.
100%, mate.
Something
100%.
that I learned pretty well is, hire slow, fire fast.
Yes. Yeah. Totally, man. Totally that. But also, like, kind of recognizing with that, and I completely agree with you there, that almost every single issue that we face in life is an interpersonal relationship issue. Because so many things that we see within ourselves, whether it be in like a coaching dynamic or a business dynamic or whatever, like, as human beings, we project so much of our shit onto other people. Because every time we meet a person, so for example, you said at the start of this podcast, like, there's like different versions of you, right? But there's only different versions of you because there's like you in business, you as a dad, you as a partner. Of course, there's different versions of you, there's different versions of everyone. But the fucking crazy thing is, if 100 people watch this podcast, those 100 people will perceive yourself and me as different people, depending on what they choose to hear, because what they choose to hear is already in their subconscious and they don't even realize that it's there, and they're just picking up on the things they want to hear.
And you have no control over it.
You have no control over
So
it.
who cares?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't control it. Yeah, it is sort of this. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that it's pretty crazy, because we were talking about content earlier in the gym, and I believe that a big reason that a lot of people get stuck with it, or even get stuck with sales actually, is because a lot of people, they'll jump on a call and they'll think, I hope they join, I hope they like me. Instead of, do I like this person? Can I help this person?
Yeah, how can I help? Yeah.
Completely shifts the dynamic, doesn't it? Completely shifts the dynamic. But yeah, that was a big fucking monologue.
So keeping you up at night is, how can I have more of an impact, and who can I bring on to help me have more of an impact?
Totally.
And do it the right way.
Mate, this is going to sound weird, but I often feel like fucking Batman. What I mean by that is, I love Batman. I've always loved Batman ever since I was a kid. But I've got this thing in my head, and again, this has been things I've been working through, that the reason that a lot of children resonate with Batman is because his whole thing is like justice.
Right?
So for me,
that's why it's not the big muscles and he looks cool and he helps people. It's the justice.
Yeah, literally, this is it. And I think that funnily enough, so the business was built for one thing, and that one thing and that why has kind of like evolved over time. The business was built because I was coaching these coaches, and I was like, coaches deserve better, more support, more community, more help. I personally believe that when we win, we all win. And I felt that the coaching space, from what I'd seen, could be more supportive of one another. So I was like, I want to create that space for people. And I felt like the actual kind of standard of coaching could improve as well. And if we do all of those things, the cherry on the cake, which a lot of people see as the main thing, is you're going to have more impact, more freedom, and you're going to earn way more money from doing it. So I was like, right, I need to create something that's going to allow people to do that. And at first I had this huge imposter syndrome. So I'm like, who am I to teach people to do this? And then we get more results and more results and more results and more wins and more wins and more wins. And now I feel like I genuinely have a moral obligation to continue to do the thing that I'm doing, because I know that it's making the impact that I wanted it to have. And so the thing that keeps me up at night is, how can I make myself better for everyone around me? So it's pressure, but it's rewarding pressure.
Yeah, it's good pressure.
Really rewarding pressure, yeah.
Well, what doesn't change you doesn't challenge you. You need to have that imposter syndrome. Whenever you're in the next level, you will have that feeling of like, oh, fuck, should I be here? Several questions. If you're not having that, you're in cruise control. So when you are doing those things, it's a good thing.
Yeah, totally, mate. Totally.
I was saying, if there was something was keeping me up at night, just pen to paper. Like, actually get it out of the head onto paper, see where that leads. Always really useful. But that's a great thing. It just shows that, hey, you should already be proud of what you're doing, but there's so many more levels to it. And if there's anything that's going to keep you up at night, pretty good thing to be keeping you up.
Totally, dude. Totally.
I'll still advise that you get more rest and you take magnesium glycinate in the evening and you write down your thoughts, but it's a good thing.
Totally, man. Mate, I love my magnesium. That or Sleep Stack from Supplement Needs is awesome. And mate, journaling. Oh my God, I'm so glad I started journaling. I'm so glad. But I'll often like guide it. So like what I mean by guiding journaling is, it will be like, right, who made a difference today? Because, right, who am I grateful for in my life? What did I learn today? Because ADHD brain, I'll fucking forget otherwise. What are the priorities tomorrow? Sweet, I can wake up and I feel clear. So yeah, those have been
really powerful thing I was doing at one point. I should probably get this back because it was so useful. Was every evening writing one task in 3 areas for the next day, and one's to do with work, one's to do with family, and one's to do with health.
Nice.
So it's like, what's going to be the main lever I'm going to pull that's going to get me the most leverage with work? Whether that's creating something, whatever it may be. With the family, what am I going to do? The one thing that's going to fill that cup. I'm going to spend an hour and a half on a walk with Van Blah. And the other one for the health, I'm going to train. I'm going to dial in my nutrition, and then doing that every day, because those are the three things that matter to me: and my family, my health, and my work. So if I know that each day I'm going to pull the biggest lever that's got the most leverage in all three of those areas, I am winning that day. Yeah. And then that gave me so much clarity in just one thing, not a whole list of like, I'm going to do this and this and this, just like, boom, those things, each of those areas, sweet, next day. And then it's just that compound effect, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
It worked really well for me. I should get back into that habit, because it's super powerful.
I love that, mate. I do love that. Is that something that you kind of encourage within like Coach by Callum, is like having your clients set up the same thing for the end of their day?
Sometimes, depending on the client, it's always individual. But say, for example, if someone was talking to me about sleep, like you, when you say keep me up at night, I'm like, well, no, we actually really need to get you to sleep because, of course, how important sleep is.
Mm.
So there's brain dumping, getting the subconscious out, of course, supplements, how the circadian rhythm is, the last meals, etc. But it really depends on the client. But I feel like within my coaching, it's like coming back to that authentic thing. If I know I can help with some area and someone's talking about something, I will help with that area. And, of course, in life, different things come up. So I help my clients with the sleep, their stress, of course, with their training, their nutrition, their habits, all of it. I like to see it as the 360. This is not just getting fit and strong. This is a life level up.
Yeah.
You are prioritizing your life, how you look, how you feel, how you're going to show up on a daily basis, the energy you're going to have, the confidence you're going to have, and how you see yourself, your self-pride. And there's obviously so many different moving parts to that.
Yeah.
So if sleep is a big one that needs to be addressed, it needs to be addressed.
Totally. I think like meeting someone where they're at is massive,
100%. Yeah.
Because, like realistically, I think that the art of coaching really is just getting the best out of every single person sat in front of you, right? And I think this is why it's great that when people has like a structure, a system, a phase, whatever, but the art of it, and I think this is where someone who like loves coaching and loves helping people then struggles to then like give that to somebody else is because I've done this for 8 years, 9 years, 10 years, 11 years, however long, and dealt with humans for such a long period of time. There's a skill that takes such a long time to develop, but as it does continue to develop is like, honestly, priceless, is exactly what you just said, just actually being able to kind of sit down with an individual and be like, right, what's broken, what needs to be fixed, what could be adjusted, what's going to help this person out at this given moment, how do we layer this, instead of just being like, right, we're all going to do this, then we're all going to do that, and then we're all going to do that.
Yeah, meeting the person where they're at all points, and that point is always going to change.
Yeah.
So it's like when you're talking about client delivery, and yes, we have this roadmap, that performance zone, how we're going to get there, the phases we're going to work through, and the general structure, but that will change. Some people work shifts. You might be in Madagascar one week, or you might be etc. So you've got to work around what's going on. So it's great to have a coaching roadmap, but know like the road is not fixed.
Yeah.
You'll meander the road with the client just to make sure they're getting there in the most conducive way always.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even to take like a photo shoot for an example, like back in the day, we did loads of photo shoots, and it's like, realistically, let's say you were mapping out like a peak week. Like, it's almost impossible to do that because you can build the framework, but you don't know how someone's body's going to respond. And that's obviously like where the coaching element comes into it, right? And, I think that what we were talking about earlier, the fact that, we're talking to clients and being like, right, touch and base at the start of the week, the middle of the week, and the end of the week is awesome because someone's always got that accountability. You're always in their corner. You're always, just like a message away. And I think that's what you mentioned there is, funnily enough, extremely similar to how I used to run like my online coaching business, and people would be like, oh, how are you doing it, and like, what's the secret? And it's like, there is no secret other than systematically giving lots of fucks.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's exactly it.
Yeah. And I think that's something that I'm like really, really, really I don't know where that came from.
That's perfect, because that's what it is, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I actually care. I'm actually checking in with you. I'm generally like, oh, you didn't hit your protein yesterday, you didn't get your workout in, you all good? Why not? Hey, this is what we can do. So systematically giving lots of fucks is a perfect way to put it.
I need to write that down somewhere. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, and like, this is the exact thing that we wanted to create, within mentoring, because I think that for me, and I remember speaking to Connor Carlson about this exact same thing, realign with him, because the way that we run our business is incredibly similar in the sense of, we like, realistically, if someone put a gun to our head and was like, build a system that everyone's going to follow, we could do that. But the success rate is just going to go through the fucking floor because we run into issues and we run into problems, and, maybe something happens at work or, like whatever. Like, I really, really do believe that, like, if someone says to me right now, okay, I have to 10x my business this year and everything's on the line, whatever it may be. All right, motherfucker, we're talking every single day. It's that simple. We're talking every fucking day, and I'm telling you exactly what to do, and this is exactly what's going to happen. And yes, it's going to be a lot of fucking time, a lot of effort, a lot of work, but it's the same with anything. Like, if something has to fucking happen, it has to fucking happen. It's that simple, and that's where that kind of dark energy element comes in. I think that I do really, really believe that dark energy can get you a hell of a long fucking way in life. It really can. But then it's almost getting to a pivot point where you go like, right, is this serving me at this given point? And can I kind of shift out of that, which is why I like the whole sprint thing I was mentioning to you earlier, being like, right, for this 14 days, because we have this thing on, new launch or new project, or I remember we actually had one for building out our coaching platform. So we were on Circle and we moved to School. And when we moved from Circle to School, I had to record at that given point 170 videos ranging between 5 minutes and 45 minutes and write text for them. That was
Michael, help me.
that was hard, man. Fucking hard. But that was created now, the newer one, 9 months ago, maybe 12 months ago. Yeah, probably like close to a year. And like even now, having clients be like, oh mate, this third video you got on onboarding really got me fired up. I love it. It's incredible. And I'm like, shit, man, I recorded that like a year ago and it's still having the same impact on everyone coming in, and it's still the same message and it's still congruent. And it's quite a nice reminder that I'll glance back at that and almost like remind myself of exactly like, what was said and stuff like that. And it was like, it's nice that although things have evolved so much, the ethos still remains the ethos. The values still remain the values.
Yeah, the bricks that I laid, they are laid as solid bricks for a reason, because they are strong, and then the next brick can be laid on top of it.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, which is great. And for you to say like, hey, if someone said to me, hey, I need to 10x my business, I'm going to talk to that motherfucker every day.
Yeah.
And from talking from my personal experience, that's exactly what I'd want from a mentor. Because like, hey, if you're giving me that energy that you are going to be on top of me, I know this is going to work, because you're saying to me, oh, I'm going to make sure it happens for you. And I think that in the mentoring space would be really powerful. And it's why you're going to go a long way with the coaching stuff, because that's what people need really at the end of the day. People don't want to feel like a number. They don't want to feel like they're the same as everyone else. Everyone wants to feel like, oh, there's actually a level of care here and support that will just take people far.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that a lot, man. I love this shit. I really do. And I think that the only bottleneck I know I can run into would be, okay, how can I serve my people, provide for my people, help my people, whilst also helping myself as well? Which is funny, because it almost then goes like complete 360 full circle into, now I really need to look at optimizing my own health. Because if I can optimize my own health and I'm thinking clearly, cognitive function's in a good spot, stress is low, all of these different things, like realistically, if you look at anything that anyone's trying to achieve, it almost always 99.9% of the time comes back to somebody's health.
100%. This is what I say to my clients, like, when this process and what's going to happen, this is going to elevate every single part of your life.
Yeah.
Your relationship, your work life, how you see yourself, and just everything else. It's the whole life level up. When you optimize your health, everything is going to be better, because you have more energy, you feel better, and you can do more. Yeah. So this is what it's about. And it's easy to forget that as well, especially when we're in grind mode.
Oh, mate, totally. 100%. I used to coach a client, become a really good friend of mine, actually. Anna, her name is. We did a podcast together, and she's built a business called Thrive. And within Thrive, she helps kind of corporate women to not only get in the shape of their life, but also to kind of then build the foundations and like great habits that allow them to kind of achieve bigger things in like their careers and get kind of promotions and things like this. And, I've spoken to like several mentors about this, and it said like, realistically, personal development is personal development. Every kind of coaching business and things like this end up evolving to a degree of being like, actually, you think, or even on the client side, they may think, oh, I just want to drop 5 kilos or 8 kilos or whatever. But then once you get them into your service and you're helping them out and you're kind of expanding their vision and showing them what's really possible for them, they're like, holy shit, I actually didn't realize how much of a positive impact it's making on everything.
100%.
You know? And I honestly think, just to talk about like money for a second, that's why I also think that so many coaches undercharge, not because, how do I put this? Not because it's like, oh, let's just charge more money, because that's never the aim. But, realistically, having the confidence to be like, right, you are going to improve your sex life, improve your relationship, improve productivity at work, be able to roll out of bed in the morning with a smile on your face, have 10 times more energy, never get out of breath walking up the stairs, feel like the fucking man or the woman, fit in a clothes better than you ever have in your life, get a promotion at work so everyone's like, who the fuck is this guy, what the hell's happened to them, be able to talk to strangers in the street, like all of these kind of like facade of like incredible experiences that could be laid out in front of you by a coach that really understands you and knows your shit. And there's like a literally 200, 300, 400, 500, 600 plus people who have done the exact same thing that you want to do, that this person sat on the call with you is presenting to you. And it's like, well, how much is that really worth? I mean, because for me, it's fucking priceless.
Yeah, you can't put a number on it.
You cannot put a number on it. And this is why I think when someone says, oh, well, if you didn't have that, it's not about the fucking coffee. It's not about the thing. Like I get when people talk about finance and stuff like that. It's realistically, we are in essence agents of change. Which we're not just changing. Oh, let's get your six packs revealed. That doesn't excite me. What does excite me is how do I fucking feel on a day-to-day basis? Because I've been extremely happy and a bit overweight, and I've also been very unhappy with a six pack. But with the right process and the right means to get there, and actually looking after the other things in my life, it's more than
100%.
I don't know what I'm really trying to say, but
I 100% hear what you're saying, and this is what it's about. It's never about the actual the physical change. It's about everything else that comes with it. It's like when I'm having a discovery call with a client, I'll take them through a client journey of a client who might have a similar starting point, and within that journey, we'll see where they started and where they got to in the photo. And I'll always say, because I genuinely believe this, like, George, you're seeing the change in the photo. Of course, that's great, but really, that's not the most impressive thing. Now, I've got a lot of what they say physical transformations, but if I could show you a brain scan of George that started here to then George that started there, that will be way more impressive. I'm talking about that energy, and then it's people realize like, okay, this is, and then they start to see like all of this other stuff is going to come, no matter me just looking great, and just how much can change with life with proper structure that's personalized around someone. I've had this girl, Laura, basically, bless her. I used to call her the shark because she was always swimming. Sharks only swim forward. And it's just making progress. And she got a shark tattooed on her forearm.
Love that.
When I first got on a call with her, she couldn't get on the call with the video because she was too insecure to see her face. So I was doing a Zoom call to a black screen. Fast forward a year and a half, left a toxic relationship, moved to a new job, wearing clothes it's never done before, like loving fitness, doing Tough Mudders, all these things. Before, she couldn't talk to strangers, let alone the 2 stone plus she lost and how different she looked. It's like a whole life changing things. And it's like, that's really the important thing of health and fitness, and the roles that we have is you can help someone completely change their life for all the right reasons if you're a great coach, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah, that's so sick, man.
When she got that shark tattoo, I was like, yes, so epic.
That's the identity shift, really, isn't it? That's what it is, And I think this is why, for me personally, if someone gets an inquiry and someone's like, maybe, they're not quite my niche, have the conversation, because you probably think that this person's outside of a niche, but realistically, what they actually need is someone that's going to come in and actually believe in them, inspire that change, and then they turn into your niche, aka, let's say, I don't know, you perform, you help people who are like gym goers, and this person's like, I want to be that person, I want to have that identity. Back in our team left days, then when we converted to Coach's Corner, like we had so many clients who joined on board. I had one client actually in particular, her name was Pauline. When she joined, she'd never like seen the inside of a gym. And over the time we were working together, she lost 22 kilos, then went for a muscle building phase, then went for a dieting phase, did a photo shoot. She absolutely crushed it. And even now today, she'll drop me messages on Instagram, like being keeping up to date with what I'm doing. She'll like share her training with me. And, we've now known each other for like, must be going on 5 years almost. And I think like her identity has shifted so much that she now, her and actually another one of my clients, Stephen Egan, absolute legend, both of those guys, they'll go on a CapCut and they'll like make collages of their training clips. And they never would have gone in the gym previously. And it's all because I was like, I know that you want to be this person. Let's help you to become this person, shift that identity. So yeah.
It's massively powerful. And for you to be like, you have the whole niche thing, questionable topic in the health and fitness area. I know in the mentorship thing, it's quite a lot like you need to have your niche. You need to know exactly who you're talking to. And I agree that to a point, but I also think like if you are a really well-rounded coach, you should know that you can be confident to help the vast majority of people that need it. So it's almost a part like it's great to have a niche to understand who you're talking to, but I think it's even more important to know that, hey, I have the self-belief in myself as a coach that I can help a lot of people as well.
Yeah, definitely. I know, I completely agree with you. And I think that also goes down to like, if you're, like we were talking earlier in the gym, like with the kind of referral setup, right? You get referrals from being really good. A lot of people think it's like you have to offer like a certain incentive or do it at like a certain
fly you to Dubai if you refer someone first time. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then sometimes, like if I have a client come back to me and says, I've never had a referral, I'll be like, right, I'm saying this to you because I love you. We need to improve your service. Because if you've never had a referral, that's a service thing. It's not a marketing thing or a structure thing. And they're like, oh, I'm offering them £100. The service can always, I don't care what anyone says, your service can always be better, even if you're the best coach in the world, because there'll always be like missing things. You know, I'm sending things in every week to my team. You know, we'll kind of be having that kind of chat, and I'd be like, right, this week we had this client struggling with this thing. That's a problem. That could be a bottleneck in our business. We need to systemize how that's no longer going to be a problem. You know, right, this week we had this client be overwhelmed. Why were they overwhelmed? Let's look back at the whole conversation. That's why they were overwhelmed. Too much information right at the start. Let's map things out a little bit more so that never becomes an issue anymore. You know, and I think realistically, like if you can, as a coach, as a business owner, look at things from an objective point of view and take a real big step back and be like, right, let me put myself in my client's shoes right now.
That's just such an important statement.
Yeah, you know?
Coach how you would want to be coached.
Yes.
Because then one, you're doing it authentically, and two, you know it's right. And this is why I remember when I first started coaching, I was like, I'm going to work with other coaches to sort of see how they're doing it. You know, these guys are big in the industry. They're charging a lot. There must be some secret sauce I don't know about.
Yeah.
And then I worked with so many different coaches that I realized, like, fuck, I'm a really great coach. And I know the service that I'm giving is top. And it's because I'm coached exactly how I'd want to be coached. So when I was in these other coaching business and I wasn't being coached that way, I realized, okay, it gives you that extra confidence for like, this is why I'm doing it, because this is exactly how I would want to be coached.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm paying someone a lot of money, I want to be hearing from them. I want them to be on top of me, making sure everything's working. If I slip up, I want them to ask me, is everything okay? Why'd you slip up? How are we going to get better? And to have that sort of push.
Oh, mate, totally that, you know? And I think that realistically, and it's funny because we talk about this quite frequently, that a lot of people are quick to be like, right, let's get you out of delivery and let's get you doing this and this and this. But that's the most important part of the entire business. You know, I brought up, and I didn't bring it up to try and like trip you up or anything like that. I brought it up to try and prove a point that you know that your content's been really inconsistent, but that's fine because your product or service is that good that you don't need to shout about it in order for it to be in a really healthy position. Do you know what I mean? And that's awesome, man. That's so awesome.
Yeah,
it really is.
It just works for different people. Things other people work well. So other coaches, like, hey, if you want to get yourself completely out of delivery and hire other coaches to do that, that's cool. If that works well for you and that's what it is, that's cool. You do your thing. And it's like, this is why there's never that one size fits all approach in which you can get sometimes from mentorship. So it's important it's like they're coaching the person where they're at. Whereas with me personally, it's like, no, I like the coaching. I like the deliverables. I don't have to always rely on, I don't need all my time back to market more because what I'm doing here is working.
Yeah.
But again, what works for me might not work for someone else, etc. So
yeah. No, totally, man.
I know a lot of great coaches that now don't coach anyone and they're just marketers.
Yeah.
And, you know, they are smashing it and, you know, that's great. But I don't like marketing. I like coaching. So why would I take myself out of the coaching to do more of something? Yeah, I could probably get more clients or more interest online that way, but it's not authentically who I am or what I enjoy. So why would I do that? I'd rather just do what I'm doing.
Yeah. No, I hear that, man. I think that's important to like know, you know, what you enjoy, what you're good at, you know, what feels authentic to you, because otherwise you end up just getting lost and then you're just kind of like a hamster in a wheel, just continually, you know, driving. So in your opinion then, just because I know that, you know, you've built an incredible coaching business, you've got multiple staff members, you know, you've really, I think, I remember I was saying kind of earlier in the gym that from lockdown to here, there's been moments where you have to like really fucking go all in and push hard. Like what advice would you give to someone who, you know, potentially has been coaching for a few years, they built like a relatively okay sized business, but they've not quite got to a point of like, right, I need to make some hires, I need to expand, I need to scale. Like what advice would you give to those guys?
I would give the advice that if there's ever a bottleneck in the business, you are the bottleneck.
Yeah.
Because I feel like a lot of the time it's like there's there's not enough engagement or it might be X, Y. As a business owner, you are always the bottleneck. Always. So first of all, is take responsibility. If something's not going as well as you want it to do, it's because it's your business. So you need to address that. And make sure. What I like to do is think, hey, where did my best clients come from? Or where did that last client come from and how? And if that's, do more of that. So realize what's working, do more of that, and then audit your time. How are you actually spending your time?
Yeah.
Because when I did this properly, I realized my time could be way more powerful with the actual time I'm putting in. You know, you don't want to be a busy idiot.
Yes.
You want to be productive and utilizing, hey, this is the time where I'm going to pull levers that are going to move forward. So realize that you're a bottleneck, audit your time, the things that work well, double down on the things that work well, And most importantly, learn from people who know more than you. You know, I would never have a coaching business this size if I did not consistently pay mentors for education and learn more.
Yeah.
Just facts. Yes, a great coach, all this knowledge and stuff, but you've got to learn other things that will expand your view on how you can take things to the next level. And that comes back to you being the bottleneck. If your knowledge can't take you to that next level, you pay someone who's got that knowledge, and then they help you stop being the bottleneck.
Mate, literally bang on. And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think that if you find a mentor that you truly align with and that, you know, makes sense for you in your business, realistically, what it should be is, right, I pay 5,000, I get 10,000 back. Or I pay 10,000, I get 20,000 back. Or in even better terms, you know, for a super successful client, I pay 10,000, I get 40,000 back, or whatever it may be. You know, that's how it should be. But I also think, like you said there was a really powerful sentence you said is making my time more powerful. That's so important. Because you say there about, like, you know, actually auditing your time and figuring out what it is that you're doing. One of our most successful clients over the past few months, her name is Hannah, I'll shout her out on this. We set her a 6-month goal when she started on board. And the 6-month goal that we set her, she'd set for herself over 12 months. And I was like, fuck that shit. We can do it in 6 months.
Parkinson's law, however long you give something, it will take that long. So
totally that.
Give yourself less time.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, we've now got there in 3 months. And the reason we got there in 3 months is on our first call, I said, show me your diary. I looked at Dario and said, you're wasting so much time. We're going to cut this out, cut that out, you know, take the meat, throw away the bones, if it's fucking, you know, whatever. And realistically, what I said to her, I was like, right, from now on, I just want you to test this for 2 weeks and you know, feedback your, like, how things go. When you use social media, you're only allowed to use it on your laptop, not on your phone. I was like, I want you to delete all social media from your phone. I said, this is going to be tough because you're used to that. She's got ADHD like me. I was like, I get it. But as a part of running the time audit, which ironically you just mentioned, so running the time audit, deleting social media from her phone, only using it on her laptop and having a clear structure, she got there 4 times quicker than she thought that she would, just from actually making her time more powerful, which is crazy. And it just goes to show that I think that, you know, if we can, nowadays there's distraction everywhere, but if we can actually have like clear focus, if we can have a clear focus, it's crazy what you can achieve.
I was the most productive in my business when I had the less time. The most productive point in my business was when my missus was in hospital. I was visiting her every day. The taxi took an hour to get there and an hour back. And I was visiting her for 5 hours a day, every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And that point was when I was the most productive, because the time that I had available when I wasn't with her in the hospital, I was getting it done. No fluff, no any of the bullshit, the stuff that was going to pull the lever and get me to where I needed to be, and hyper focus. So when people say I don't have time, I think, you know, I understand I'm a busy dad, stuff going on, time, but really you do. And then it gets down to like wanting it enough to utilize that time or to make the time.
Yeah.
And do you have to get up 2 hours earlier?
Mate, it's so true.
You know, do you have to change something in your routine? Do you have to say no to your friends? Do you, like, how much do you actually want it? Comes back to what we say, you know, where energy goes, energy flows. If you want it enough, you're all in, you'll make it work. That's again coming back to you are always the bottleneck. But having time where you know you're being productive and making sure it's not wasted time, super, super important.
Mate, it's so true. And this is something that I had to learn the hard way, is earning my right to train, because I used to wake up at 7 a.m. Now I wake up at 5 a.m. From 5 a.m. till 7 a.m., the most important tasks, like realistically, 80% of our results come in that 20% of my day. That 20% of my day creates all of the business growth that we want to achieve. Then once I've done that, obviously onto the next task, etc. Then once I go to the gym, you know, realistically, if I'm going to the gym at like 10 a.m., 11 a.m., in theory, with sticking to that schedule, I've achieved what I need to achieve for what most will be achieving throughout their entire day in that period of time, because I've given myself that hard and fast cut off. And like you're saying there, you know, you're traveling in the back of an Uber, you know you've got an hour. You know, you've got and literally you're looking at the timer on the Uber and you know it's counting down, you're getting closer to the hospital, you know, you're going to be going to seeing your missus, and it's like, it's a very kind of, right, this is it, I have to be in this moment, I have to do this thing, whatever it may be. And I honestly feel like, you know, for me, I think that's why, you know, when I do move out here, to start with, I probably won't get a car, because I will work in the back of the Uber, because I'll maximize that time. And I had a client say to me, we had a event in London, and it was in December. We had 35 people at the event, so it was like a slightly smaller one. And at the end, we had like a bit of Q&A. And one of the questions that came up was, if you were one of us right now, with all this information you've just taught us, what is the first thing that you would do? And I stood there for a moment and I thought, I wanted to be like, implement, but I thought that's a shit answer. And I said that to everyone. I was like, that's a shit answer. So I want to give you what I would actually do. I stood there for a moment and I was like, right, okay, 2 days worth of information. You've written down fucking loads of stuff. You live an hour away. I was like, what I would do right now is I would literally book an Uber and I would just drive to a random destination and then drive back. That would probably cost me about 120 quid, which is a pinch. That pinch holds me accountable. I would sit in that Uber and I would like get the Wi-Fi or whatever, or, you know, use 5G. And I would just literally obsessively implement everything you've just learned. And they laughed and I'm like, that's what I would do. And I had one person do exactly as I said. They got that Uber. They lived an hour and a half away, like deep into fucking, I think it was Woking, deep into Surrey. It was like all the way from like North London to there. And they made $4,000 in one trip. And I'm like, that's what it fucking takes. Do the fucking work.
Yes.
You know, like if you implement like that and you do exactly as people tell you to do, just like you said, you know, when you worked with a mentor and it's like, right, if you follow exactly what I say, your business is going to grow. Okay, well, I'm going to do it then, you know? But yeah.
Yeah, it's that, and it's that having that clarity. It comes back to like the free task thing I said. If you have that clarity of, you know what the thing is that's going to get you the most leverage to do, and you do that straight away, if you just think of how far that will get you over time, just what is the one most important thing that I know is going to move me the most forward, and then just do that thing every single day. And then once that's done, you know you're going to be moving forward, and then you can do all the other stuff if there's stuff to do. But as long as you're doing that one most important thing every day, there's no way you're not going to move forward.
Oh, mate, totally.
And then if you don't know what that thing is, pay someone who knows.
Yeah, literally. It's a hack for life, isn't it? If you want to move ahead faster, then, you know, get in rooms with people that can give you that information. And that's why for years, I'd look at this and I've had quite a few people ask me if I regret it. I don't regret it. I've always invested obsessively into coaches and mentors, and I could have got on the property ladder. I could have bought a really nice car. I could have, you know, invested more heavily into like S&P or retirement fund or whatever. And, you know, if I went and spoke to my mum about this, oh, you know, you should have more here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I have invested over the last couple of years, but my point is, if you looked at the spread of that investment, I would honestly go as far to say, genuinely, and this sounds wild, I say 70% of what I've invested is into people. I'm like, right, I want the fucking skills. Because realistically, all that I need to do is rock up, listen, download the information, implement the information, learn the information, make a few mistakes, have some successes, find my own path and be like, right, this is the fucking thing. And you do that obsessively for, well, I mean, the first mentor I ever hired was actually 2018. A lot of people don't know that. They think it was like, you know, because I worked with this guy, kind of didn't really network many coaches, and I should have, and I regret that. That's actually one regret I do have, is not networking with people sooner. But I mean, I've been learning from people ahead of me for 7 years.
So it's all about, on my whiteboard at home, it literally just says at the top in green letters, the more you learn, the more you earn.
Yeah, literally.
All the way across the top.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, man. You know, knowledge is power, but then, you know, then going out into the world and sharing that knowledge is how you then become the happiest, the most fulfilled, you know, the most stable, the whole shebang, you know.
And the best way to learn is to teach.
Yes.
You know, if you've found some information, you've learned something, when you teach that to someone else, you've just downloaded that twice as much, say if you've just heard it.
Yeah.
You know, so, you know, the more you teach from what you learn, the more you actually skilled you get at the same time. So it's like this massive positive loop. Like, hey, you're helping people, but you're learning more, and it's helping yourself. And it's just like this positive loop. It's super powerful.
Totally, man. No, I love that. I was just going to check how we're doing for time, because we can always go into like a Q&A if needs be. Could you do that?
We still have 10 minutes.
10 minutes and 2 hours.
2 hours, yeah.
Mate, we have been fucking absolutely firing that off.
10
minutes from 2 hours, yeah.
From the... Oh, shit.
Holy shit. Mate.
What do you want to do? It's your pod.
Mate, that is fair enough. Wow, that's absolutely I can honestly say that from all the podcasts I've done, the time has moved the fastest in this one.
That is wild. I did not think it was that long.
That's crazy, yeah.
Waffling for 2 hours. I hope there's some value in there.
Show you like the key points from the podcast was really good.
You reckon?
Yeah, because I was from the third point of view, you know. Like
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Cool, man. I'll tell you what we could do. Should we let's
Did you hear my
No.
stomach rumbling, by the way? Could you
No.
get that on the mic? Oh,
No.
good.
we can do this for a
That's
little
what
bit
I
of
thought
fun.
myself was like,
Let's go to let's see if we can pull up any questions here. So
that's wild.
let's have a look. I'll fire some at you. Okay, right. We'll just do some quick fire. So
We
basically,
want quick fire answers, or
yeah, why not? Just
Okay.
like 60-second answers, and then what we'll do is we'll bounce back and forth. So this is essentially everyone at home. This is like our magical list. That's basically what I've done. But I feel like they're actually applicable to. So it's just like random fucking.
okay,
So I'll just fire some at you.
just hit me with whatever you want. Yeah,
Sweet. So question number
it's
one.
not going to be a tougher question than who's Callum right at the start. Ready for everything from the get go.
What's one decision you made earlier on that has had the biggest impact on your success?
Back myself always.
Love that.
Even when I was a kid and I was,
Mm.
you know, my dyslexia is bad. My spelling sucks now. You know, expelled from school. I always knew
Mm.
I just backed myself. I'm going to make whatever life is work always from a super young age. Just always backed myself. I had
Yeah.
that self belief that I'm going to do well just because I literally feel it in a cellular level. Like I just back myself. I know
Yeah.
it'll be good.
Man, I can relate to that so much. Like even in the gym, like I'll literally just constantly like, come on, George, you got this, George, come on, easy, like fucking Ronnie Coleman, like lightweight, baby. But no, I can resonate with that massively. Okay.
Sorry, Callum, can you put the mic?
Oh, sorry, brother.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so how do you stay disciplined and motivated during tough times?
Focus, coming back to the why,
Mm.
and knowing that tough times it's like, tough times
I was
never
gonna
last.
say, yeah, only
Just
tough people last.
yeah. Yeah, it's not forever. You know, getting it done.
Yeah.
It's like tough times are important, and then in those times, push, get it done. No, it's not forever. And then the sooner you push and get the tough time done, the sooner you're out of the tough time.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Right. How do you decide what to delegate versus handle yourself?
What do I hate the most? What do I really not enjoy doing?
Yeah.
So for me, it's anything to do with spelling or like just like systems, where it's like the techie side of things. That'll be the first things I get rid of. So it's just like, what do I actually enjoy doing? What am I good at?
Yeah.
Or what can I know someone could be better than me at, and get them to do that?
Awesome, man. Right. So, what's the smartest financial decision you've ever made?
Investing in mentors is definitely number one. Not far behind is investing into cryptocurrency early.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mate, I'd love to hear a little bit more about crypto, actually. How did you start with investing into that?
It was the same time I started my online business. It was COVID, it was lockdown. All of that was really against my internal values, which is freedom, health, you know, travel. And then I got really curious of how can I make more money? So then that's when I invested into my own education to go on online, take my skills in person. And I also understand the system very well, that money is printed out of thin air. So it's technically backed by nothing. So when I got into studying Bitcoin and knowing that there is only a finite amount, you know, supply and demand, it was something that fitted into the energy of freedom for me at the time, and it made sense. And then I invested early, and it was obviously a good decision.
That's awesome, man.
But honestly, the investing in mentors is way more than that.
Yeah. That's really cool to hear that, bro. Like, I think, like, you know, realistically, there are so many ways that someone can invest like their time and their energy and their money and stuff like that. And crypto's cool because obviously it kind of like does its thing and sits in the background. But like you say, those kind of hard skills from working with a human, as we know from coaching, they just stick there forever, you know, and you can kind of implement in so many different areas.
100%.
Right, let me pick one more out. So, okay, that actually links into what you just said. How do you stay ahead and continue learning?
Reading. I love to read.
What's your favorite book? I'll pass you those. What's your favorite book?
The Slight Edge is probably my favorite book.
Okay.
Psycho-Cybernetics is right there as well, but I would say The Slight Edge. Just, you know, when a book just hits you at the perfect time, at the perfect age, and you just really
Slight Edge, yeah.
get it.
Okay.
Or A New Earth is also a great one.
A New Earth. Love that, man. Love that. And then I guess I'll ask you one final question, actually, because this is something I wanted to ask was, you know, for what would you say like the future of your coaching looks like?
The future of my coaching looks like more of the same, but more community, more of just like the people community with, hey, me and them, but them together as well. Because everything's going more down the AI route, the technological route, the more, connected to technology. So I think the more I can bring in the humanness into coaching, the better. So for me, that would be a big thing I want to focus on moving forward.
Dude,
even
100%.
more so.
Mate, in today's day and age of AI, I think that people are craving HI, human interaction.
Yeah, 100%.
You know,
exactly that.
You can't AI your way out of like an emotional and deep and fucking raw conversation. Hence why this podcast is literally called the Raw Talk Podcast. You know, you can fucking AI podcast now.
I'm not surprised. So some AI like sales calls and whatnot, and
it's insane. Like you can literally go to your Instagram URL, copy and paste it into like this function. I'm not sure how much expensive it is, but apparently it's quite expensive. It will literally go through all of your content and it will go like, right, from all of the content you've ever created, we're going to create a fake podcast of you sat in a room talking to the camera.
Yeah, that's now, let alone what it's going to be doing in 5 years.
Yeah, and of course, like at the moment, it probably needs some tweaking, adjusting, and stuff like that. But a lot of people have said if you have enough video content, it can put out a pretty convincing podcast.
Yeah, it's wild.
The fuck.
And I think like do the opposite of where everything is going.
Yeah.
So if it's all going that way, if it's all going this way, what's it leaving behind? And then if it's leaving behind human connection, actual like true connection, try and do as much of that as possible.
Mate, that's the key to getting ahead in life is doing the opposite of what everyone else is doing, which is ironically why the last 2 Decembers have been our biggest business growth. Because we're like, everyone's closing, we're opening. Or people take off a bank holiday Monday. I don't know what, I just did it as like a bit of a joke, but I actually loved it. It was bank holiday Monday. A load of my friends and stuff like that were like, oh, we're taking it off. And I'm like, I'm on coaching calls all day. And then the following day on the Tuesday, I'm like, I'm going to take the day off. And it was just like everywhere I went was just like super chill, really quiet. I could kind of like do my thing. And it was just like, fuck it, why not?
Going against the grain. I remember when lockdown happened and I was back in the UK.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm turning my parents' garage into a gym. All gyms are shut. I'm going to be the only open gym in Sussex.
Love that.
Did that, boom, 14 clients a day,
Sick.
Monday to Friday. And everyone knew like, hey, this is against the law. You could get COVID. I'm going to clean every time. I'm going to wear a mask, but everywhere else is shut. I'm open. I'm a great coach. Everyone loved it. Coaching packed out. So I was doing that Monday to Friday, then building the online business on the weekend. The whole goal of like, I'm getting out of the country. I'm getting to Mexico, back to my freedom.
Yeah. That's sick, man. I love that.
Nice. Right, let me hit you. You're going to have to open it up.
Open that bad boy up. There you go, bro. Where's my water gun? There we go. Okay.
This is a good one.
Go into 5 minutes.
What's a common misconception people have about this business?
Oh, great question. Okay, you know what? I don't know if people have this misconception, but I can see how it can be construed. The common misconception I see that people potentially have about my business is that I really, really care about money. I actually don't give a fuck. I just understand that a lot of people, how do I put this? Sex sells. So I understand that if I can prove, right, I can treble, quadruple, 5x, or even 6x in some people's cases, your income, that's a very attractive offer, because if you give me £500 and I give you back £3,000, then of course that's a great investment. So I think a common misconception is that people may think that I value money and income far greater than I actually do. Now what I've realized, I used to have quite a poor mentality around money and like think that it was like the root of all evil. Now I realize that if I were to, for example, right now, I would use that to like, support family or fly them out here to meet me or invest it in a particular area or look after my family. So I'd almost say it's like, in terms of priorities, I wouldn't say it's right at the bottom of the list, but it's certainly not the top. So I think a common misconception, and I wish, and this is something that I really want to get across in my content, is just how much, for me, my core value is impact, humans, helping people to help people. So yeah.
That's exactly what's going to make you stand out the most as well.
Yeah, man. Probably need to lean into that a bit more, to be fair.
Yeah. Okay, next one. We know the answer to that. Who are the people that have influenced you the most and why?
Oh, good question. People who have influenced me the most. I think probably my mum. My mum's influenced me a hell of a lot. Grew up with like single mum. Like when I was a kid, it was I won't lie, I probably wasn't dealt like the best hands in life.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly caused a lot of hurt when I was a kid. You know, just being around the kind of environment, quite like aggressive, and there was like lots of abuse and things like that. And I think that because of that, because I didn't really have like a male role model in my life, the role model I had in my life was my mum.
Mm-hmm.
And equally with that, I had to do a lot of work with my relationship towards men.
Mm-hmm.
So for years, I didn't trust men. Now, like through kind of going through that work and kind of processing things, like I love the feeling, and I can really resonate with, this is going to sound weird, but it's because I was diagnosed with like PTSD years ago. I can really resonate with men who will like go to war and they come back and they really struggle, because it's like that brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
So I think for me, in terms of people who have kind of like inspired me, when I can be around a guy who is truly just like, you know, almost just like real, raw, authentic, no bullshit, decent human being, I always leave that conversation or leave that meeting or leave whatever just feeling really fucking inspired by that person. Because I'm like, you know what, you're just a fucking good human being. And you don't have to be a good human being, but you're choosing to, and I love that shit. So I take inspiration from people every single day. Doesn't matter who they are, how old they are, where they've come from. Doesn't matter about how much money they're earning or what status they have or how many fucking Instagram followers they have. I take inspiration from everyone. I take inspiration from my clients all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I get inspired by all sorts of people, man.
Yeah, that's a good way to be. Reminds me of like you want to be a warrior in a garden,
Yeah.
not a gardener in a war.
Yeah, I love that quote, man.
So like the man thing, like, hey, you want to have your stuff together, but like I'm a warrior. If shit hits the fan, I'm there, but I'm in control the whole time.
Yeah,
Take a lot of inspiration from that.
totally, man.
And to take inspiration from lots of people just shows that you're connected to a lot of people, that you have, high emotional intelligence, because if you can see the good in people and take inspiration from them, that's a massive skill to have, because think about how many skills you can pick up, how much you can constantly be inspired.
Yeah.
So that's adamant to your character and something that you should be proud of.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. I something that I've always aimed to do, like my whole life, is listen to every single person. Well, treat people how you would like to be treated yourself at all times, always. I've always been like, that's one thing that my mum like really instilled into me, is like, you treat people with respect. Doesn't matter where they come from, you treat someone with respect, and it actually upsets me if I see like a waiter or a waitress being treated unfairly.
Me too, big time.
It really affects me. I hate it. So yeah, I think that's a big thing. And then another thing as well is, doesn't matter who the person is sat in front of you, like you listen to them as if they've got, like, you listen to that person as if they know something that you don't know, because they probably do. And I think that often from our own ego, or often from our own insecurity, we just think, oh, if I can't gain anything from this interaction, then I haven't got the time of day. And that's why even to today, a lot of people are surprised by this, and I've actually been told off for this. I spend a lot of time in my DMs talking to people. I do, every day. Very similar to what you've said to me before. You'll just chat to people and just get to know people. I love that shit. I really do. So, yeah. I can't actually remember what the question was, but...
Who'd you take the most inspiration from?
Oh, everyone.
Yeah, everyone.
Yeah. Big time.
No, good on you, man. It's a good way to be.
Appreciate that a lot. Mate, it's been an awesome chat.
That was 2 hours, apparently. That went quick.
Mate, it's absolutely flown by.
Very quick.
But yeah, man, I've got to say, like, it's been a fucking awesome conversation. Like, I really appreciate you coming on. I think you're an awesome human being. I'm sure we'll have like many meetings again. We'll have the funny, sexy, cool Wednesday sessions, and we'll just flirt with each other.
yeah.
and do that. But mate, like next time I'm out here, 100% we'll have to get around to golfing.
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be class. But yeah, for anyone who doesn't actually kind of follow you or on socials or whatever, where can people find you?
Don't judge how little content I post. Maybe I'll post more. But yeah, Coached by Callum is my Instagram name. And thank you for having me on, brother. It's just great to see you out here in Dubai, and it's been super cool to see your evolution. I know we got into coaching around the same sort of time, but more importantly, to see how you've been while you've been evolving.
Thanks,
you haven't actually changed, which is the most important thing. And yeah, I'm happy for you. And yeah, it's inspiring seeing how much of an impact you're making. So keep doing it, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate that hell of a lot, mate. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, bro.
Cheers.